thank you so much for coming back for our 7th video in the Fruits of the Spirit series. In this video, we're going to be talking about the word faithful, what it means to be faithful. And when I think of someone who is faithful, I think of someone who always keeps their word, is loyal, they're constant in my life, and you know that you can trust them. In Galatians 5 verses 22 and 23, it talks about the fruits of the Spirit. It says, "But the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there are no law." This verse has been shaping the way that we look at what God calls to us to be as faithful followers. We've learned about how God gives us opportunities to be loving, joyful, peaceful, patient, kind, and good. And this week, we're going to get to discover what it looks like to be faithful. This week, we're talking about faithfulness. And to help us understand that, I'm going to use a little bit of an object lesson for us today. So with me, I have a paper bag. Now, this paper bag is filled with something. You can hear it in there, right? So what would you guess is in there? Maybe you think a puppy's in there. I mean, it could fit. Or a book. Or what else could be in there? Maybe there's a pillow. I don't know. What do you think? But what if I told you there was a cookie and some chocolates in there? Now, the only way that you would know this is if I took it out of the bag, right? So I'm going to show you that there really are. So I have a cookie and I have some chocolates, right? So when I show you that there are some cookies and some chocolates in this bag, you know that they are. But how could you have known that without me telling you? It's hard. You have to trust that I was telling you the truth. Or if you were here with me, you would have to look in the bag yourself. And the Bible talks a lot about how this is like faith. You have to have faith to know that I was telling you the truth. And when you taste it, you would definitely know that this is a cookie. But the Bible talks about faith, and it says there are lots of people who demonstrated great faith. The Bible says faith is being confident and hopeful and assured in the things that we hope for, but we can't see them. Having faith means that we believe even when we can't physically see 100% of things. Can we see God? Not really, not necessarily. We have evidence of what He's done, and we can continue to see the ways that God works, but we can't always see His face or touch Him with our hands, but we know that He's there. Faith means we know that He's there and that He does wonderful things for us. The Bible talks about people who demonstrated faith. There are people like Noah who built an ark because he knew that God was telling the truth and what He said when He was going to flood the earth. Or there was Abraham who left his entire home to follow where God was telling him to go. Or Rahab, a lady who was living in a city that was going to collapse, and she helps people stay safe so that God's family can continue. And those are people we would say are maybe faith heroes because they trusted in God so much. But do you know what's a truly wonderful thing? We don't have to do anything special to have faith. It does not depend on us or our actions. Faith is not about us. It's about God. It's about what He's already done for us and what He promises that He'll do. He died on the cross so that we could be saved. And if we believe in that, that means we have faith. Trust has to do with what we are and what we believe. To trust someone, it helps to know that they're worth trusting. If you know me well, you maybe trust me. If you know your parents, you probably trust them. But if you didn't know me or you didn't know someone, it might be harder to trust them. And we can know that God is truly trustworthy because He's proven it, because He continues to show up. In the Bible, He shows us ways in which He was always with His disciples, and the ultimate promise of His trust was fulfilled when He died on the cross. And sometimes our lives aren't necessarily easy, right? Some of the people in the Bible who had demonstrated faith had to go through really hard things. Noah had to go through a flood. People had to trust God to go across countries or move places, or when things seemed difficult, they still had to trust. But trusting in God's doesn't mean that our life is going to be easy. He doesn't promise that, but He promises that He's going to be with us, and there's always hope. He promises that heaven is waiting for us, and there's something so much better than this cookie or something else that our world could give us. And we know that God is faithful and He's with us. We have to trust that He's going to provide for us, but when we put our trust in God, we know that He's going to do what He said. Everybody who tuned in and watched this video, before we go, let's review what we've talked about throughout all of these videos. Number 1, God is love. We can show love to one another in so many different ways. When we are spreading love through our actions, we are showing love to God's people. This also means we're being a good fruit. Number 2, we learned about joy. Joy is even greater than our happiness. It's something that comes from God, and it helps us through hard times. Joy is peace in God and knowing that there are things to smile about every single day. Number 3, we learned about peace. God's peace that means that no matter what's going on, God is with us. He gives us what the world can't give us. Number 4, we learned about patience. Patience is something pretty difficult to have, but it's so important. The Bible teaches us that we need to learn patience because those who wait receive gifts that, if they would have just skipped along ahead, they may not have gotten. Number 5, we talked about kindness. We learned the importance of showing kindness in our actions and sharing it in our words. Number 6, last week, we talked about goodness. Goodness is not something that we can have on our own, but we must pray to God to love Him above everything else, and that goodness would show from our lives. And today, number 7, we talked about faithfulness. The Bible says that faith is being confident in the things that we hope for, in things we cannot see. Faith can be hard to have, but we know that God is with us and He's worthy of our trust. So as we talk about all of these fruits of the Spirit, we hope you remember that God is with you and He loves you no matter what. Thanks for watching, everyone.